All right, Bills Mafia, buckle up, because we're about to make one of the boldest claims of the entire offseason. Is it possible, just possible, that the Buffalo Bills didn't just have a good draft class back in 2026, but actually landed 6 future starters in a single class? I know how that sounds. I know it's aggressive. But the more film you watch, the more you dig into the roster situation, the more you understand exactly what this coaching staff is building, the harder this take becomes to ignore. So let's break it all the way down, name by name, and make the case for why this rookie class could end up being one of the most impactful in recent franchise history. Before we get into the individual players, there's one massive piece of context you absolutely need to understand. When Buffalo moved on from their previous defensive-minded head coach and promoted their offensive coordinator into the top job, that decision sent a loud, unmistakable message. The front office wasn't fully sold on where that old defense was heading. And that matters enormously here, because a huge chunk of this rookie class was specifically scouted and selected with an entirely new defensive vision in mind. These aren't just talented players. These are players hand-picked to fit a brand-new scheme from a brand-new defensive mastermind. That distinction changes everything about how we should be evaluating their paths to playing time. Let's start with linebacker Caleb Lomax out of TCU, one of 3 fourth-round selections in this class. Right now, the presumed starting job belongs to a returning veteran who has quietly improved across his first 3 seasons in Buffalo, but has never quite gotten the full time. Every snap opportunity to prove himself as a true long-term answer. Here's the thing, though. That returning veteran was scouted and drafted for the old defensive system, while Lomax was specifically brought in to fit the new one. And with the veteran currently working through some absence from spring practices, the door has swung wide open for the rookie to soak up first-team reps. Early reports out of the building suggest the coaching staff has been genuinely impressed with how seriously he's taking command of the defense. Could this rookie be starting as early as this season? It's absolutely on the table. And if he seizes that opportunity and runs with it, don't be shocked if it becomes very hard to ever take him back out of the lineup. Next up, 5th-round safety Jalen Kilgore out of South Carolina. This one is fascinating because the presumed starter ahead of him carries a well-documented history of bouncing between teams throughout his career. Now, there's real optimism that things could work out smoothly in Buffalo, but even in the best-case scenario, where everything goes perfectly this season, there's a strong incentive to have a younger, cost-controlled option waiting in the wings for what comes next. And that's exactly where Kilgore comes in. Frankly, it's a little confusing why a player with his combination of size, explosiveness, and natural ball skills fell all the way to the 5th round in the first place. Sometimes teams just lack the imagination to see how a hybrid, do-it-all defensive back translates into a specific NFL role, and it often takes the right coaching staff and system to finally unlock that talent. There's real belief that Kilgore fits that exact mold, a versatile safety with legitimate starter traits who just needs the right runway. This year is likely about him soaking up knowledge behind the current starter. But heading into the following seasons, don't be surprised if the fan base falls in love with exactly what he brings to this defense. Now let's jump to the higher value picks, starting with cornerback Davidson Igbinosun, one of 2 second-round selections in this class. The presumed starter opposite him right now is a talented, athletic corner selected in the 1st round of the previous year's draft. But here's where things get really interesting. Buffalo actually traded up to acquire Igbinosun in the 2nd round, and teams simply don't spend draft capital like that just to stash organizational depth. That's a move made because a franchise believes it found a genuine starter. And when you dig into the scheme fit specifically, the picture becomes even clearer. This new defensive coordinator wants his cornerbacks playing aggressive, press-man coverage, and by every account, nobody in this entire draft class played more press-man coverage in college than Igbinosun. Meanwhile, the presumed incumbent starter was overwhelmingly a zone corner in college, playing the vast majority of his snaps in that style under the old coaching regime. That doesn't mean he can't adapt to a more man-heavy scheme, but it's simply not what he's been asked to do with any real consistency throughout his career. Whether it happens this season or next, there's a real tangible path for this rookie to become the preferred starter at that cornerback spot. And then there's the other second-round pick, edge rusher T.J. Parker out of Clemson. His path to a true starting role looks a little different than the others, mainly because the veteran ahead of him signed a 3-year deal this offseason, and the team appears fully committed to that partnership for at least the next 2 seasons. So realistically, the true breakout starting opportunity for Parker likely arrives a little further down the road. But here's the crucial thing to understand. Even without being the very first name called on defense, Parker is still projected to see real, meaningful snap volume in a genuine rotational role right away. This isn't a situation where he's buried on the bench waiting years for an opportunity. He's going to matter immediately. And by the time his window to become the full-time featured starter finally arrives, he'll still be a young player with plenty of runway left on his rookie contract. Now let's shift over to the offensive side of the ball, starting with offensive lineman Jude Bowie out of Boston College, another 4th-round selection. There are actually 3 different starting spots up front where a clear path could eventually open up for him, whether that's at left tackle, right guard, or left guard, depending on how the next year or two shakes out. Several of the presumed starters at those spots are playing on contracts that are set to expire, which creates a natural opening for a cheaper, younger, cost-controlled option to step into the lineup. This probably isn't a 2026 storyline, but heading into 2027, the door could realistically swing open at one of those 3 spots, and Bowie looks like the leading in-house candidate to walk through it. And finally, we've got to talk about the pick that has the entire fan base buzzing with excitement: wide receiver Skylar Bell. His path to a true starting role is likely the longest runway of the group, since the presumed starters ahead of him are largely locked into contracts for the next couple of seasons. But even in a worst-case scenario, he still projects as a genuinely valuable depth piece who can offer real juice as a change-of-pace playmaking option. In a best-case scenario, he's a legitimate top 3 option in this passing offense down the road. Realistic expectations for his rookie season should probably stay modest, but there's a well-worn blueprint here worth remembering. A certain current Buffalo receiver was extremely quiet during his own rookie season and the beginning of his 2nd year, before exploding into a massive role by the back half of that 2nd season. There's real belief that Bell's development arc could follow a strikingly similar path. The speed, the playmaking ability, the yards after the catch, the polished route running, it's all there on tape. It's simply a matter of patience. So step back and look at the big picture here. Caleb Lomax, Jalen Kilgore, Davidson Igbinosun, T.J. Parker, Jude Bowie, Skylar Bell. 6 different rookies, 6 different paths, but 6 genuinely believable roads to becoming meaningful, difference-making pieces of this roster within the next couple of seasons. And frankly, this kind of draft class success is exactly what a championship-caliber roster needs. Look back at some of Buffalo's more recent draft classes, and there's a fair argument that not enough young, affordable talent has been developed to seamlessly replace aging or increasingly expensive veterans. This particular class, especially with the extra draft capital the team accumulated this year, has a real chance to break that pattern in a meaningful way. Nothing here is guaranteed, of course. Not a single one of these rookies has proven anything at the NFL level yet, and it's going to take real on-field production before any of this talk becomes reality. But when you actually dig into the tape, the scheme fits, the contract situations, and the clear organizational vision behind each of these selections, it becomes a lot easier to see exactly how this story could play out. And that's an incredibly exciting thing for Bills Mafia to wrap their heads around heading into training camp. So let us know what you think down in the comments. Which of these 6 rookies are you most excited to watch develop? Do you believe this class has the depth and talent to produce that many long-term starters, or is this take a little too bold for your liking? We want to hear your predictions, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into the future of this roster, make sure you smash that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you're not already subscribed, hit that button so you never miss a breakdown as we count down to training camp. There's a lot more analysis on the way. Go Bills, we'll see you in the next one.